Hi everyone. So, as I've done in the past, I've done a tutorial series on the mission editor, and I'm going to culminate that with example of an actual scenario creation. So I'm going to start that now, and I'm going to see it through all the way to being published in Steam, which might take a few weeks or may take a few days depending on how much time I have, but we're going to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is look at a little bit of notes I came up with. I recommend that people do this first before they start. It's just how I think it's important to do this, at least. So the scenario name is Buck for Your Bang. The plan is I'm going to create a scenario that has Syria and Russia. In Syria, Russia is going to use Latakia Air Base. They're going to have Su-30s and Su-35s. They're going to have an AWACS patrol. They're going to have some scary SAM systems, some SAMs for self-defense or point defense of those scary systems, and separate radars for their scary SAMs. So we're not going to have the scary SAMs have their radars on. Then we're also going to have, potentially, I don't know, we're going to have to work this into the scenario, a counterattack by Russia at our base. We're also going to have a command and control bunker at Latakia. We need a target. I mean, we're not going to just throw lives away on both sides for nothing. It's for a reason. And this is just one of the targets. So our goal is going to be to neutralize these forces. Definitely want to destroy the command and control bunker. We'll get into scoring later. I'm sorry, I should have said yeah. That one's perfect. All right, so we're going to have Russia with all those scary things. We're going to have Syria with their early warning radars and air defenses just all turned on. We're going to have a squadron of F-35s, and we're going to have some cruise missiles. I said naval cruise missiles. We could do bombers. I don't know how I'm doing it yet. My plan, I know it's fairly detailed for this. I don't know yet how many F-35s. So say I add 24 F-35s and decide that's too many, too little, whatever. And I say naval cruise missiles could be anywhere from 100 and something to, I don't know, 1,000. We'll just have to see how many we need. But we'll be flexible on that. So what Syria will be doing is radars on, shoot anything that they can get a weapons lock on. Basically, if you're in their airspace or in their SAM range, bye-bye. And Russia will be doing the same thing, but they will have aircraft airborne and an AWACS patrol and possibly a counterattack. We're going to have to see how that works in. Complexity, it's going to be fairly straightforward and simple. Difficulty, we'll see. Scoring. Player will lose points if they lose those expensive F-35s. Player will gain points for a small amount for destroying enemy aircraft. The F-35 outclasses them, so I'm expecting to destroy more aircraft than I lose. Large amount for dangerous SAM systems. That would be the SA-21. And the primary objective, command bunker. So I don't know how many points it's going to be yet. We're going to play around with the numbers. Usually what I'll do is say 100 for a heavy amount or a large amount, 10 for a small amount, and then the command bunker, whatever I need to tweak to make that the most important one, depending on how much is destroyed. Scoring can come later. We're going to play through the scenario and figure it all out. Hopefully playing through the scenario doesn't kill the fun of it. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to create a blank scenario. We're going to do it in Syria. Head sides. Syria. I'm going to turn down their proficiency. I'm going to make Russia. And I'm going to make the USA. And I'm going to raise the proficiency of US forces. I do believe it's officially a fact that they train more than Russian pilots and vastly more than Syrian forces do. Alright, so now Russia is going to be unfriendly, or should I just make them hostile? I'm going to make them hostile, just to make it more simple. Hostile. Because we're going to be in their death bubble, taking off from the base in Cyprus that I had planned. Russia and Syria are going to be friendly towards each other. US will be hostile. And Russia will be friendly towards Syria, hostile towards the US. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is build Syrian forces. So fortunately for me, this has already been done. So if I go to import export, go to Syria, I'm going to just take their early warning radars and their air defenses, load selected installations. Going to go over to the doctrine page here, and I'm going to turn their radars on. Radars on, radars on. Okay, now we're going to go to, actually I'm going to add the air base for them as well. So Syria, Basil al-Assad Latakia International Airport is there. I'm also going to add Hama, which is right behind it. So in the event I don't actually do anything with a counterattack, we will delete this air base entirely. But we are going to have Basil. Actually, I'm going to add this later if I decide to add the air attack on Akrotori. I don't know how to say it. Huh. Okay, so there are a few Syrian SAMs in the area with their radars on. And now if we go to the Russian side, we can add the aircraft and our SAM systems. Do want to make a patrol zone of a sort for the Russian SAM systems. I don't want them to stay perfectly still. Or at least an area where the SAMs might be to defend the airbase. But we'll come back to that. Alright, so we have our Allies forces. We have our patrol zone, or our future patrol zone. We're going to put our AWACS patrol zone. It's going to be deep inside Syrian territory by a few miles, so aircraft are not going to be shooting down the AWACS aircraft on the first attempt, or on the first sorties out, for sure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select one reference point at a time. AWACS, oops, Control R, AWACS Patrol, and AWACS Patrol. Now we don't need to rename them, but it helps. All right. So we had mentioned before we needed a C3 bunker, I think is what command calls it here. We're going to have it at the airbase. C3, underground hardened C3M bunker. Penetrators required. So this is a durable target, an armored target, but it's a very valuable target. We're going to rename this Russian HQ. This is a valuable target, and destroying it is going to weaken the Russian air defenses significantly. So now we're going to put in some SA-22 Greyhounds. These are Russia's point defense systems. As such, I am going to turn their radars on. I'm going to put them in various locations so that the airbase can be secured. A lot of this is probably going to be trial and error, where I'm going to try my scenario, say it's too easy, put in some more units, and say, oh crap, now it's too hard. And we're also going to want an SA-21 radar system. A Big Bird radar. That's a big radar system. And we're going to have our SA-21 in here. "12 tells, 8 tells. We're going to go with 12. We may change our mind. Or do we want to go with 8? We're going to do 12. Now we're going to make our SA-21 patrol. Now, I've never tried doing it this way before. Radar off. The goal, though, and this is just an experiment, I'm not even sure how this is going to work. We may just end up assigning it its own patrol another way, or just assigning it to an air intercept mission. We'll have to see. But the idea is that this guy is just going to stay mobile. So if he's spotted, he won't be spotted in his new location. So it'll be a very short window in which we can engage. We're just trying this. I already know it may not work. Alright. So we said we're going to put in a dozen flankers of the Su-30 and Su-35 variant. Su-30 from Russia. Their new built X-12, well, let's just assume they revamped up production, or they're throwing away their best stuff, because we could always change it later, but we're just going to put the newest and most capable versions in. Su-35. The flanker E, we're going to put another 12. And an A-50. I'm going to add 2 of them, which probably wouldn't have 2, but we always want an AWACS airborne. AWACS. It's going to be a support mission. Radar set to on. One on station at a time. And we'll set these 2 to ready. I'm going to set one of them to ready now. Add them to that mission. AWACS. Now I'm also going to add an SA-23. Now an SA-23 I believe has a semi-active radar. Semi-active radar seeker and semi-active. Okay, so these SAMs are simply never going to be as good as this SAM. So I'm going to say right now I've got a theory about this. So these are going to be much easier to be taken out. The reason being is that they have to illuminate a target. So basically, if an aircraft is flying, the radar needs to guide the missile in. So if the aircraft then dives and breaks the lock due to the horizon being in the way, the missile will just go blind and not hit its target, where this one will keep flying to the point where it thinks the target's going to be, and since they go fast as hell, like really fast, will likely intercept it, even if it does go low. It's really hard to get away from these and defeat them that way. So I'm going to add a second of these at this base just to have them, but I'm not really getting my hopes up that they're going to be able to achieve much. And we're going to give them a radar so they don't need to come on until they turn until they're ready to turn their illuminating radars on. I'm going to turn this on, make sure it is in fact the correct radar for them. Say 23. Oh, it looks like it's about the range of their system, so that should work. Okay. Now, I suppose I could take out some of this stuff. The only issue is that there are some long-range SAMs here, like the SA-5. It would be helpful if I stayed over it. There we go. And it would definitely be a good idea to see how those could defend airspace that's inside their range, but at the further end of it. So I kind of want to leave them in. And obviously if I leave them in, then all this is there to protect them. So I might decide to dumb it down and take out particular this area here. But we'll just have to see. And this area probably isn't needed at all. Anyway. I'm going to set up a AAW patrol to basically have a few fighters up at a time, and then to have an intercept mission in case missiles or anything else gets shot. First thing we're going to do is an air intercept mission, and we're going to assign those Su-35s to that, I think. We can set this up later. I want to basically say that they're going to intercept anything within 100 miles. Basically, I don't want them chasing things out here. It's not a defensive posture at that point. It's a much more offensive posture, and the Russians don't have the forces to go on the offense like that in this scenario. And then we're going to have our combat air patrol around the base. You don't want it going into Turkey. Turks might get a little mad if that's the case. So we will always have a fighter patrol over the cap in Latakia, 2 fighters at a time. Or do I want to do 4? I'm not sure. Probably 2. Wait, I'm sorry, that would be 1. 1 unit of 2. Oops. Okay, so going to save the scenario now. I'm going to save as. So I'm going to call it Buck for your bang. Now, I created my sandbox, so I'm just going to save it in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is set 1/3 of the aircraft to the maintenance mode so that they're not available to sortie. Next thing I'm going to do is set up a certain amount of aircraft to be armed and ready to go, but that's going to have to require us to set up manually and add ammunition into the bunkers, which is going to be a little bit of a tedious task, but we will probably do that in another episode. Just curious how many ammo bunkers Latakia has. Probably quite a few. 2 ammo shelters. Okay, I'm surprised it only has 2. You know what? I might leave it that way and make that the objective to take out Latakia. Or I might add a few more. I'm not sure. I think I'll add a few more. Anyway, I will wrap this video up now, and I will resume work in another one. Hopefully this will be useful for people who are trying to make scenarios. We will go over a lot more in depth later. Alright, I will continue this again soon. Have a good day.